So, ladies and gentlemen, today on Sports File, we're taking the first of a three-part podcast look at the 2019-20 Hockey Hall of Fame inductees. Now, these were announced in recent weeks, but due to my summer break, I decided to take about a few days off and basically give you guys a break of listening to my 10 to 15 podcasts a week. It takes a lot of information for me to put together, but I appreciate all of my listeners throughout North America and the world. But today we're going to go international with the Hockey Hall of Fame, the first of three podcasts. We're doing the other two on Guy Carbonneau and Haley Wickenheiser getting in. But this person is, I would consider, not only groundbreaking as a player, but groundbreaking as probably one of the best international skaters of all time. Now, for those who are under 35, this name wouldn't ring a bell, but for us over the age of 45, Vaclav Nedomansky was considered by many the best Czechoslovakian forward before the Peter Stastny or the Stastny brothers era, and he became a groundbreaking player for one reason. He was the first European player to defect from the Soviet bloc to North America to play. Now, the Hockey Hall of Fame recognized Nedomansky not just for this, but he's a massive international and national representation for his home country of Czechoslovakia. Now, for many seasons, Nedomansky played for Slovan Bratislava in the Czech Extraliga for 12 seasons. And as an extension of this, he put up a massive amount of points and a massive amount of goals for the squad, but he played internationally for Czechoslovakia for a number of years, and he almost allowed the Czechs to make an immense breakthrough at the Worlds. There was one time in, I think, the 68 World Championships where the Czechs bet the Russian twice and lost the World Championships. They lost to Sweden in the round-robin phase. They were better than the Soviets, but he could not win. Now, in 68, the national hockey team of Czechoslovakia won silver medals at the 1968 Winter Olympics in Grenoble and another bronze in 72 at the Winter Olympics in Sapporo. And he was also part of the Team Czechoslovakia squad that played in exhibition against a Team Canada Summit squad in 1972. Now, he was being scouted at an early age. My sources tell me that North American scouts were looking at him a couple of seasons before the start of the WHA, but it would be very difficult for any Czech to defect because as strong as the Iron Curtain was in the Soviet Union, it was harder in Czechoslovakia. Now, he played for Czechoslovakia in 9 World Championships, and he was named the top forward at the 1974 World Championships, which really was the turning point of Nedomansky's career, because this is around the time he was making efforts to defect. Now, just as impactful was the Stastny crossing the border to get to play with the Nordiques. Nedomansky defected via Switzerland to Toronto in 1974, and this was a total break for him because, for obvious reasons, he was not able to return to Czechoslovakia, or Slovakia in this case. He was Slovakian by birth. He couldn't come back until the fall of the Iron Curtain. Now, his defection was to the WHA with the Toronto Tours and the Birmingham Bulls, and his first seasons in the WHA were tremendous numbers. In 74-75, he notched 81 points, including 41 goals in 78 games. Next season, he had his biggest pro career in the North American leagues with 56 goals and 98 points in 81 games. And 77-78, he had another great season with the Bulls. 76-77, a great season with the Bulls. But in 77-78, he made a shift from the WHA in the early part of the season to Detroit Red Wings, where he became a very strong offensive and defensive stalwart. His first year with the Red Wings, he had 28 points in 63 games. But the next 2 seasons, he hit the 35 goal mark twice, scoring 38 goals in 79 and 35 in 1980. Now, he went on with continue with Detroit and the Rangers and the Blues, but the massive amount of numbers he put up. I'll give you an example. With the Czechoslovakian national team, he almost scored at a goal-a-game pace. He had 354 goals in 388 contests. WHA, 135 goals in 252 games. And the NHL, 122 goals in 421 games. Now, this is over 600, major elite, major pro goals. And tremendous as well in both sides of the puck, as we say. The World Championship totals, he scored 80 goals in 93 games. And again, he was probably considered the most important international that the Czechoslovakian national team had before Stastny. Now, a lot of people tell me, I never had a chance to interview him. He's a little bit before my time as a journalist. But he basically was a very strong proponent for allowing internationals in the Soviet bloc to be let go. And he opened the door for a lot of people, including the Russians, actually, that were compatriots of his. And, when Nedomansky came into the league, a lot of people thought, well, how good is he? Because how strong was the Czech league he was in? How strong was the international games he played in? And we found out right away he was comparable probably to kind of a strong second line forward like a Ken Hodge or Rod Gilbert that would put up a lot of goals. Very good in the power play, very good on the face-off. He was a little bit, aggressive as well. Like most Czechoslovakian players, he had a little bit of a temper. If you remember Peter Stastny and the Stastny brothers with the Nordiques, and later on with for Stastny with the Devils, Nedomansky wasn't going to back down. And the fact is, he was there to play. I feel really sad he never took a chance to stay in Toronto after leaving the WHA. He went to Detroit. I felt maybe his talents would be better served with a better team or a better coach. Can imagine Nedomansky was playing on Gretzky's second line or something. He could have easily scored 50 goals. Like I said, a very interpretive player. And I think the Hockey Hall of Fame did put him in because they felt he was a type of guy that would reflect an era that's kind of forgotten. Internationally, tremendous. For his national teams, tremendous. And he's still working with the Slovak team on a regular basis. He's given back a lot to hockey. And, if anybody was a crossover, again, like Jim Rutherford is kind of right now, not as a player, but as a builder, he's part of the class as well. Nedomansky was, again, you look at the Czechoslovakian teams of the 60s and 70s, you could have done it without Nedomansky. So again, if you have a chance, go on YouTube, take a look at that 1972, what I call Game 9 for Team Canada, the Summit Series era, Game 9 against Czechoslovakia. Some very, very good plays by Nedomansky in that contest. You'll see how Team Canada players couldn't adapt to his style a little bit because the slower players like, Rod Sealing and a few others had a hard time with him, Dale Talon, internationally. But I still think there's tape as well from the Czechoslovakian games in the Olympics in 68 and 72 just to see how strong it was. And you got to understand, this was an era at the World Championships where only Czechoslovakia, Sweden, and the Soviet Union were there as the strong teams. Team Canada was banned from the Worlds for a number of years, and they dropped out as well after the conflict after the 68, where the Europeans were using their professionals, including Czechoslovakia, and Team Canada wasn't allowed. So that was kind of the lost era of the World Championships. But I mean, as strong as the Russians were, the Czechoslovakians were just as good. They were close number two. I mean, it was comparable again when you look at the Boston Bruins of the 70s as compared to the Montreal Canadiens. Czechoslovakian team of the World Championship level, man, they could skate, and they weren't like Russian dirty. They were there to play. They had a kind of a merge of the NHL WHA style that was prominent in the 70s. So on this great July 12th, again, don't worry, my listeners, my podcast channel still running strong. I just took a kind of a break, working on the Brunswick Independent Authors Association, as many of you know. So on this good evening, and the second and third podcast we're doing will be with my media colleague Nathan DeLong, also a member of the Independent Authors Association. We're going to be talking about Haley Wickenheiser and Guy Carbonneau. And, he's a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, so maybe I have to explain to him a little bit the importance of Carbonneau with the two cups. But Haley Wickenheiser, he's taking care of that podcast. He can more than explain to the people that don't know Haley's background how strong and how world-changing she was, not only for Canada, for women's hockey across the world. Have a great night. Bye.